Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Death, Taxes, and Bananas podcast. We're going to be switching gears here a little bit. The challenge has officially wrapped up this season 41. No pun intended, but we have put the final nail in the coffin of the challenge season 41. So you're done hearing me talk about Battle of the Eras. You're done hearing me talk with challengers for a while. I am more excited about this change of gears than you are. Trust me. And we are now going to, again, we're going to move over to another franchise that I was a part of. A show that has, absolutely caught fire and is one of the greatest shows, I think, in the history of television. Not because I was on it for one episode and helped them win an Emmy, but because as far as game shows concerned, as far as personalities go, we're on season 3 of The Traitors, and it is, every episode is just getting better and better. So you can watch this episode of my podcast, the Death, Taxes, and Bananas podcast, on the Ringer Reality TV YouTube channel. So head over there and subscribe, because we are now going to be covering this season of The Traitors 3. So if you have not already watched it, they have dropped, I believe we're up to episode 4 or 5. You can stream them all on Peacock. So yeah, we're going to get you caught up with a guest who's going to bring us up to speed with everything we've seen so far. So Traitors is a different animal. Totally different beast than the challenge, where silence can sometimes not be golden, but absolutely deadly. On Traitors, playing a quiet game could spell your demise. And in this realm of deals, betrayals, even a bachelor can find his paradise turned into exile, a castle into cold, and lonely banishment. Because here, alliances crumble, trust is a currency, and one wrong move, one misstep can cost you everything. So this is where the game begins and where it just might end. So without further ado, I would like to welcome my friend, fellow bachelor, because I am a banachler, from Bachelor in Paradise, worst cooks the best worst cook in America. Mm-hmm. And now the first banished on season 3 of The Traitors, Mr. Wells Adams.
Thank you. That was an amazing preamble.
Hey, thanks, man.
Did you write that?
ChatGPT helped me.
I've used ChatGPT for so much stuff.
Buddy, I'm telling you, my brain is going to stop functioning soon because I use it for everything.
Dude, don't tell anybody this, except for the millions of people that listen to this podcast. But for our wedding thank you notes.
Stop. No, you didn't. Please tell me you used it to write your vows. I thought that's what you were going to say.
No. I did write those.
No. Wells used ChatGPT to write his vows. That's so fucking great, dude. Even if you didn't, I'm going to run with that.
No, that was a great little intro. Yeah, I love the fact that the only person who's done worse on Traitors than me is you, which is insane to me, because I thought for sure when in the first episode, when all like the hooded druids were there, and then one is left and they like derobe him, I thought for sure it was going to be you.
You were just excited to watch me disrobe.
Absolutely.
That's what it was.
Yeah, you're packing heat,
hey,
buddy.
Thanks,
you're
man.
not called bananas for nothing.
6.5 inches of cold steel.
So when I thought it was you, I was like, "Oh, I'll go get bananas." I would have done it, even though it put a huge target on my back. And then when like the robe comes off and it's Boston Rob, I turned to Dylan and I'm like, I don't know who that is. Who is that?
Yeah.
He's like, oh, that's like a Survivor legend. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
I don't watch that show.
Yeah.
So I was bummed because I thought for sure you were going to be there.
So in the interest of full disclosure, there was a very real possibility that I was supposed to do it.
Yeah.
The thing is, 41, the one, it's kind of funny how this works, because when 41 wrapped, there was an 8-day turnaround between, I was in the Philippines and I just filmed for 10 weeks and my mind was mush. It would have been an 8-day turnaround for me to try and make it to Traitors, because I would have had to leave the Philippines, fly home, unpack, repack, and then fly to Scotland and try and reset my brain and jet lag and all that. And I just, if and when I go back, like I really want it to be when like I'm fresh and I can actually put up. I mean, you've seen this, and this is coming from a guy who's been a gamer for the last 18 years and has done this. Traitors is a different animal, dude.
Yeah.
It is a different animal. And again, for someone like me who's very familiar with reality television competition shows, it's just difficult in so many other ways. And that's why for people like you and like, you know, the housewives who you guys have obviously made you've come up on reality TV, but not necessarily this cutthroat competition.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got, I don't even, but then it's like, again, it's like that might actually bode well for you because in a way, then people aren't expecting you to be able to play the game or to know the game. Because it seems like a lot of the times the heat is on the gamers, not on the people who aren't. So is that like something coming in that you were going to almost like use to your advantage? Like, guys, I'm the Bachelor. I spend my time in paradise, dude. I have no idea what I'm doing.
I thought I would be really good at it. One, because on my show in Bachelor in Paradise, I just sit back and I make drinks for everybody and I kind of listen to everyone's stuff and then I give advice when I think it's necessary. And so, and it's also like, I've done so many seasons now. I've done like 8 seasons of that, like over 150 episodes. So like I have seen so many different like big personalities come through and I'm really usually very good at sussing out like who's full of shit and who's authentic. And I thought I would be really good at this. And it was interesting because, you sit down with Alan and he says like, what do you want to be? Do you want to be a traitor or do you want to be a faithful? And I think one of my first mistakes I made was I was indifferent. I was like, I don't know. I think it'd be cool to either way.
Yeah.
Like, I think that no one would suspect me if I was a traitor because I'm just like a nice guy to be around. Like I'll crack jokes or whatnot. But if I'm a faithful, I think I'll be able to suss out traitors because I feel like I've been around reality TV celebrities for so long that I'll be able to kind of call bullshit. But I think my indifference screwed me because I think that if you do the show, it behooves you to be a traitor because at least you are in control of your own destiny.
Yep.
The one thing that's very interesting, and like I'm a huge fan of the challenge, so I actually watched more of the challenge to get ready for Traitors than I did of Traitors. There's just much more challenge than there is of Traitors. The one thing that I found really, really interesting that I don't feel like is so much on the challenge than it is on the Traitors is the questioning of like someone's integrity, which is like very, very important to a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
And like that was one thing that like really annoyed me during my roundtable when people were like, you were acting weird. And I'm like, no, I wasn't. That's not like, that's a fucking lie, dude.
Yeah.
I was lovely to be around.
Yeah.
I know I was. And then I was like, oh, those were lies to like obviously make me look bad so that people would vote for me.
Exactly.
And that bummed me out because I was like, oh, you guys aren't attacking like the decisions I've made like
It's
in
blood
missions.
in the water, dude.
You're attacking like my like my persona, which I was like, man, that sucks.
Yeah. Well, if it makes you feel any better, I think what it was, and this is how it works, this is on the challenge too. Once one name is said, it could be anybody.
Oh, for sure.
As long as it's not you, you're jumping on that bandwagon, and that's kind of what happened. But we'll get into that part. Going back to when you were having your conversation with Alan. See, I think a lot of people like this. I was the exact opposite, where I'm like, make me a fucking traitor, because people are already going to assume that I am. So, and why not? Like you said, that's where, that's kind of where you can protect yourself, the little protection you have. And then it really is up to you, to then play your game and to not get found out. I thought it was kind of ironic that the only person said they wanted to be faithful was Tom Sandoval.
Yeah. Well, it was, it doesn't surprise me. Like,
define irony. Tom saying, I want to be faithful.
Well, listen, I think the like America's biggest villain becoming a villain on another show, I think is a little too on the nose.
He didn't want that. Yeah. He's like, listen, I got to push down the SEOs on Google. All right. If it comes out and it's like Tom Sandoval is a traitor, that is just going to, just keep this ball rolling. What was he like? Because I know him outside of the show. I've known him for a long time. What was he like? What was he like on Traitors?
He's similar to you in that, like, when cameras are rolling, you can tell, like, they control the room a lot, you know? But he's dissimilar to you in terms of like thinking through things.
Being able to think.
Yeah. Like he just talks a lot.
Yeah.
Like I remember during the roundtable, he was, dead set that Chriselle was a traitor, and no one thought that. And it was obviously the heat was on me, and I was like, Tom, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
No one believes what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're taking up so much of the oxygen. Can we please get back to like me defending myself?
But in a way, and here's the thing, this is what's crazy about this show is, and I feel, again, if I can draw a parallel and a comparison to the challenge, people come on the challenge and they're like, I got to move all the pieces. I got to be in control of everything. I got to be this master manipulator. I felt like that was Dan's big fault on my season.
Yeah.
Where you look at the people who do well, Phaedra probably would have fucking walked to a final to the end if it wasn't for Dan putting her on blast. But it's the people that don't know what they're doing and are just kind of like taking things as they come and don't really know the game. I feel like the people who try and control too much and try and control when moves happen, especially if it's in the best interest of their own personal game, it's like a murderer, dude. They establish an MO. Dan's MO was, I want to get rid of all of the strong guys that I feel competition with. And guess what? Once that started happening, it's like, all right, it's obviously got to be a guy. Yeah. It's got to be a beta guy that's afraid of alpha guys.
Yeah.
And it was obvious that it was him. And I feel like with Tom, in a lot of regards, because he doesn't really know what he's doing and because he just says random shit, I think the funniest part is this guy coming in, like night one, is talking to, who is it? Carolyn and Danielle. And it's like, I trust you guys.
Yeah.
Like that is the best move the guy could have made, because now you've just unknowingly befriended two traitors.
Yeah.
Who they're like, all right, this guy's not onto us. He trusts us both. Therefore, he's like safe without even doing it. He basically failed his way into being protected.
Yeah. He fell forward for sure.
Yeah.
No one believed that he was a traitor.
Yeah.
Like it was very, very obvious who was and wasn't traitors. And like going back to your season, like us being friends makes me sad that you went home first, but I don't think it was a dumb play. I would probably also want to get out Johnny Bananas or Wes or,
CT
or all these people that I know are really good. I would do that. For our season, when what got me in trouble is I think that the traitors made the dumbest decisions.
Yeah.
And that's why the thing I say is like maybe playing a smart game isn't always the smartest, because like maybe this whole like having the whole house in like or the castle in calamity and confusion was really, really smart. But in my mind, I'm like, if I'm a traitor, I'm getting out Survivor people, I'm getting out challenge people, I'm getting out Big Brother people, because those are the people who play this game for a living and know and can suss things out. Real Housewives and Bachelor idiots, like we have no idea what's going on.
All right, I'll push back a little bit on that as it relates to the Housewives, and here's why.
Okay.
Here's the thing about traitors, and this is what I think, and that's the thing, and that's why coming in, there was a target on my back, but I felt like it was kind of unnecessary because I'm like, I'm good at competitions.
Yeah.
I am great when it comes to physicality. I am great when it comes to, figuring out games and how to win games. I'm great at potentially, creating alliances, that sort of thing. But my strong suit has never been being able to look at someone and like read their face and read if they're telling lies or if they're being honest. And that's why coming to this, I'm like, yes, I have won a competition show, but I've won in like the physical realm. Whereas I feel like Housewives, their entire lives are reading people.
Yeah.
And flossing, not just, guys, but like other women as well. And like being able to navigate that world and that, that echelon of society. That's why like on our season, the first ones to peep Dan was MJ and Larsa.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's, I feel like what they do, they're able to like read men and if men's intentions are like, are pure or not. So I do agree with you when it comes though to, especially the Survivor players, a lot of times because and Big Brother, that's their entire game.
Yeah.
Their entire game is mental. Their entire game is, being able to vote and it's all vote offs and it's like, convincing people to vote a certain way. The challenge I feel like is a lot more upfront. A lot of it isn't done in the shadows. And that's why I feel like those games translate a lot better to Traitors than the challenge does. And this is the other thing is Dan saw me as the biggest threat in the house. But I'm like, okay, if you feel that way, and yes, if I'm loud and over the top, I'm also a shiny object. If people already assume that I'm a traitor, you should probably keep me here because then I'm almost like a meat shield for you to hide behind.
Yeah.
And the fact then that it's like, oh, I'm the most dangerous one. And then you got CT, who in my opinion, when it comes to a game like this is they just let this guy walk to the final.
Yeah.
Like I thought that was just wild, dude.
Yeah, I remember watching your season thinking, I feel like a lot of people haven't seen the challenge that are on this season of Traitors because CT, I feel like that's his game is like being the sweet, lovable like guy and having like taking like some like young person under his wing and like. But the whole time you're like, he's smarter than that. He's scheming. I remember watching that season being like, I don't think they've seen the challenge because this is CT's like MO.
Bread and butter, dude.
Yeah.
Fade into the he'll throw out a bunch of fluff and say a bunch of stuff, and then 5 minutes later you're like, what the hell did you just say?
Yeah.
And it's like the Boston mumble, but also like the ability to just throw out a bunch of stuff that doesn't make sense, but then it makes enough sense where you look at him, you're like, okay, did I not understand what you just said because I can't understand what you're saying or because it didn't make sense?
Yeah.
And he's also very good at not necessarily taking a line, and he'll just kind of do whatever. He'll find out which way the group's going, and he's not someone that's gonna take point and put himself out there.
But hold on, to your point though, and I agree with it, and it's what happened on our season was why would you kill somebody that people probably are going to think are a traitor? Like if I was on your season, I would have been like, that's how I was doing it. I was like, who would production want to be a traitor?
Yeah.
And in my mind, I was like, I would want Johnny Bananas to be a traitor.
Yeah.
One, I want him on my screen as much as humanly possible. And two, like, I know that he's going to do the thing of, I've won, 18 million freaking competition shows, come follow me. And like, probably would have had like all these alliances and stuff. For our season, I did the exact same thing. I was like, well, I think that Dorinda would be a traitor. I want her on my screen as much as humanly possible. She won't stop talking. She has no problem yelling at people. Like she's TV gold.
Yeah.
And maybe that was dumb of me or maybe like way too cerebral to be like trying to think like the producers. But then they kill Dorinda immediately, of which everyone thought was a traitor that we were going to banish the next day.
Yes.
And in my mind, I was like, the traitors are dumb. One, you're doing the work we were going to do that anyways. But two, don't you want people to be distracted by this thing?
Yes. That was my point.
Yes.
That was my entire point.
And that was frustrating for me because I was like, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. We were all going to banish her, right? Everyone was like 100% she's a traitor. And then the next day she gets murdered and we're like, okay, so now we can focus on who really is a traitor, I guess.
Yeah.
I feel like that's why I said, like, I think that was a dumb move. It ended up being the thing that got me killed or got me banished.
Yeah, you speaking up. We'll get to that. So coming into the show, you have watched other seasons or because believe it or not, and it was so funny because CT and I, without even talking to each other, neither one of us watched a single episode of Traitors. That we just both walked in fucking blind. I almost would prefer it that way because I'm like, I'm going to play my own game regardless of whether or not, and I don't want to play somebody else's game. I want to come and play my own. Now, maybe that didn't work out for me all that well because I definitely came in fucking hot. But my whole thing was I'm going to come in and I'm going to be as messy as I can right out of the gate. That way, if and when the traitors are chosen, if I'm a traitor or if I'm not, I already was acting a fool coming in and I'm just going to keep acting like that so my behavior doesn't change. But it didn't work out. But coming in, like, what was your game plan? Was there anybody that you wanted to see that you didn't necessarily want to see? And when you got there, you were like, oh shit, this is going to be a problem. Or this is someone I can work with. No,
I don't have like a lot of like drama with like other reality people. So I wasn't super worried about that. I didn't really know a lot of people. I knew of people, but I didn't know anyone like personally. I knew of Dylan because Sarah was friends with Zach way back in the day when he was with Vanessa, and so like I knew that he was cool and
Dylan seems like a really good. He just seems like a really like good energy. He seems like a good person.
Yeah. And he is. Like, he's
Okay.
someone that you want to hang out with, good to have a beer with. Like,
super chill.
lives in his van with, like, his dog. Awesome
Down
guy.
to earth.
Yeah. And then, you know, I was hoping you were going to be there, honestly.
Yeah.
Because we've done a show together. We're friendly. And also, like, I knew that this was way outside of my comfort zone, and I wanted someone that I could just be like, even if you are a traitor, dude, I'm latching onto you, whatever. And so that's what happened with Wes when I saw Wes.
They sent in Timu, Johnny Bananas, which is Wes.
Yeah. Your redheaded step brother. So when I saw Wes, I've never met him before, but I'm a huge, like, Sarah and I are huge fans of both of you guys and CT. And so when I saw Wes, I was like, yes, 100%. I'm just going to ride this guy to the end.
Yes to Wes.
Yes. And like, so
that's
I was
Wes's
excited to see him.
favorite way to get to the end, by the way, is getting ridden.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's usually how he reaches the end. Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
So you wanted to ride Wes. Okay.
I wanted to attach my wagon to his star. Don't fucking clip that. Please don't clip that. So yeah, that was my plan going in, was and those are the people that of whom I knew. Obviously, I knew who Chriselle was. I knew who Nikki was. And then I made friends with a bunch of people when I was there for such a short period of time. But like, to your point too, of like,
I was there for shorter. So
yeah, but like I had a plan of what to do. I don't even think I got to like enact my plan.
Yeah. At what point when you were driving around, was it pulling up and seeing the dude in the gold mask, or like going to the gates and seeing Fergus, or like when was it really like, oh shit, dude, this is fucking for real?
Yeah, I think when you're driving, I don't know I can't remember how your guys' started, but ours,
there were drums and then like cannons went off.
Okay, yeah. Ours was like we drove into the property and there were like those like hooded druids, gold faces, and we saw those and I was just like, oh, dude, that's fucking eyes wide shut shit, dude.
Yeah,
I remember being like, is this how like
did I sign up for a gangbang?
Yeah,
like,
is this an orgy?
Am I gonna get divorced?
Yeah. I made that joke a lot. That never made air, unfortunately. And yeah, then
you know what mine was?
What?
I shit you not. We pull up. And Alan, ours was different because we were out in that grassy courtyard, and Alan's standing up there with fucking cannons going off, and he goes, "Welcome to the Traitors." And I was like, "Oh shit, I thought this was Fuckboy Island."
Yeah,
that didn't make it.
No, that's a good line though. But yeah, no. So then you get out and you kind of meet everybody, and then you're kind of like immediately in the like Alan comes up on a white horse.
Your guys' game started immediately though, because like everyone left, and then you had the masked druid who ended up being Rob. Yeah,
which was a cool little touch.
Yeah.
And it was weird. I was right behind Carolyn, who was just like, oh my God, it's Rob. Yeah. It was like, and I say it like, I was like, it's not like Matthew McConaughey. Like, what's happening here?
Relax, Carolyn. Stop shaking.
She's getting pregnant. So I turned to Dylan. I'm like, what's going on? And he was like, oh, that's Boston Rob. He's like a Survivor legend. And I kind of... Everyone was nervous that someone would go get him because if you go get him in the game, then someone gets kicked off. Yeah. Then obviously, probably if that ever happened, that person would have been the third person in the birdhouse the next episode and probably would have come back and then would have been like, fuck you, you got me out.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That probably would have happened.
100%. I can see the way that they are producing the show. Yeah. But at the time, we didn't know that. And I was like, dude, that would suck if that's how I got kicked out of the game, is that someone went and got Boston Rob and someone was like, I don't know who the bartender from a reality TV dipshit show's out. And I've been like,
that's why I was surprised though that there were existing beefs, like especially the Danielle and Brittany situation where Brittany didn't go to try and get rid of her. Because I mean, there was a lot of pre-existing beefs like coming in, right? Danielle, Brittany.
Yeah.
I felt like Tom Sandoval and everyone. Even people who never met him, they're just like, we just don't like this guy.
Yeah.
I think he's growing on people though. It seems like people are kind of,
yeah. I mean,
getting over it.
Listen, a lot of people have cheated on a lot of people, especially on reality TV shows.
Yes,
I'm not sure if the punishment has fit the crime at this point.
I could not agree. It's almost like at some point, you served your time. Okay, we get it. I think here's the worst part. It's almost as if people have gone from hating him to now just everything is they just everything's a meme with him.
Yeah.
Anything the guy does is just not taken seriously.
Yeah.
Like they made a whole thing about a few episodes ago when they were at breakfast and he takes his sweater off and he had like the sweaty armpits.
Yeah.
Dude, it was like all over the place.
I
Like
know.
that happens. People, human beings perspire.
Yeah.
Okay.
He also runs hot. Like he's always moving around. He's always talking. Like I'm not surprised that like he's sweating a lot.
Alan pulls up bareback.
Yeah.
How appropriate.
Uh-huh.
What was that like? Meeting Alan and
cool. I come from kind of almost the other side of doing these shows, so I'm always interested to see like, how much is this being fed into his IFB, or is he like completely off book? Because he's so good at all these like little quips and long lines and stuff, and he really never. I don't think he ever took like a pickup situation.
Bro, I've seen hosts on shows before. Nobody, and I mean nobody, puts in more time than that guy.
Yeah,
he is there. Dude, he puts in almost as much time as the cast.
Yeah.
He's there for the breakfast. Then he goes and does the challenge all day. Then he goes back and, does the banishment. And then he'll be up. Dude, those round tables will go sometimes until 2, 3 a.m. The turret murders. And he's there the entire time.
Yeah.
And he's back on set looking fabulous. Like it's wild. That's the worst. I never made it to a breakfast, but there was I had a few early mornings.
Yeah.
Dude, showing up early on no sleep and just having to be on.
Yeah.
And just having to start film day after day. I mean, that's a grind. And you could see it in people's faces, especially as the show goes on.
Well, I remember thinking like that's how I'm going to figure out who traitors are. I'm going to see who's got the fucking dark circles under their eyes. Because also what kind of a fun little idiosyncrasy that people might not know is that you're in Scotland, you're in Inverness, so really, really up north. So it takes forever for it to get dark.
Yep.
Like it would get dark at like almost like midnight, and then it would get light around 4 o'clock. We all have blackout shades. But if you're thinking about it in terms of production and you have to go film a turret scene, and let's say everyone wraps at let's say 10 o'clock or something, and then they go home, and then you have to wait until probably around 1 o'clock to go film that. And then you might wrap at 2:30 or whatever, maybe 3, and then you have to go back to your thing, sleep for 2 hours, and then come back.
And it's not a fast. I don't know how it was with you guys, but the process. Oh my God, they put us all in the bar, and then they remove you one by one.
Yeah,
is that how they did it?
Yeah,
you don't know when. Sometimes it'll be 10 minutes in between removals. Sometimes it'll be 30. And you're sitting there like, oh my God, if this takes you start counting and you're like, there's 10 people left. If it's 30 minutes or 20 minutes in between each person being removed, I'm gonna be here for another how many hours? What time is it? Then again, I don't think it fully like the mind, the grind fully, it didn't set in for me because I didn't make it to one breakfast. I was the first one murdered, but dude, I can only imagine how that must have, like over time, how that wears on you,
There was a part of me that was like, if I had gotten to like the second to last episode and didn't win any like extra money, I would be a little frustrated,
Yeah, I did
all this and Wells got paid the same amount as I did and he was gone the first day.
Yeah, man, I fucked up my circadian rhythm for this. So you walk into the meeting, everyone has their pleasantries. You go into the round table room. Did they do the thing with the camera spinning around? Did they play the hanging tree music?
Oh yeah,
dude, that was when it really sunk in for me.
Really, I
was literally sitting there, bro. And when that music started, and when everyone was quiet, and we're all sitting around, and this camera spinning around, I'm like, it almost felt like someone was actually going to get murdered.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, is this, what did I just sign up for? Like, that to me was when I was like, holy shit, this is badass, dude.
I remember the like choosing of the traitors thing was fun. And that's probably when it did start to sink in. And I was just like kind of giddy about it. And I thought for sure that I was going to be made a traitor. I thought for sure I was. And I was just so concerned about what my face would look like once I pulled the mask off.
Yeah.
And I wasn't chosen, but I did hear.
Okay, I was going to ask you. What?
Yeah,
his arm.
So I'm next to Danielle sitting,
okay. Mm-hmm.
and they didn't show it. It's such a bummer too, because I hear him go past me, and then I hear him touch her, and I go, and you're in a mask, and I was like, oh, what is that? And I totally clocked it, and then afterwards, I forgot to think about like who was right next to me,
mm-hmm.
and I just didn't suspect her. And then like looking back, I'm like, damn it, I totally heard it. And I totally could have called that out.
So, and I think because that happened on our season 2, and everyone's like, "Oh, I heard his jacket move."
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Marcus was saying, after I looked at CT's leather jacket to see if there's fingerprints on it.
Yeah.
You know what I was gonna do, but I'd already. So before we walked in, I grabbed one of the gold bars.
Yeah.
And I stuck it in my coat pocket.
Okay.
And then as Alan starts like doing his spiel, I take it out and I purposely like fumble it and drop this thing on the fucking table. And it makes this huge commotion. Alan got so mad, comes over, snatches the bar, slams it down, had to read. And this is like he talked when I had him on the podcast, we talked about it. And he was like, Bananas, he was like, as you were walking in, I got it in my ear. And they were like, Alan, Bananas just took a gold bar. And he's like sitting there like, well, what do you want me to do about it? Like, I'm about to give like this entrance speech that I can't mess up. And like 10 seconds into it, I like dropped this gold bar and just like completely fucking ruined the moment. So what I was going to do, I was going to tap Fate or whoever was sitting next to me. I was going to tap them on the shoulder. Just to see what happened. Yeah. Because then what would they have done?
Yeah.
They would have been like, all right, stop. All right, Bananas just touched so-and-so. We got to... And then after that, because I was like, this would create so much confusion. Yeah. Because then after it would be like, well, what if they ended up touching that person anyways?
Yeah. Oh man.
But dude, I was like,
I forgot how much of a nightmare it is to do a TV show with you.
Oh, yeah.
Like if I'm a producer, I'd be like, I cannot stand this fucking guy.
They were like, we hate him, but we need him.
Yes, exactly.
It's almost like it's like a toxic relationship.
Yeah.
You're like, I hate you, but I love you.
Yeah. You don't know how good he is to me when we're by ourselves.
All right. So it ended up being Carolyn Danielle, Bob the drag queen. Like you said, my favorite is Tom, dude. Like, I just love watching him do shit because it's like, he like takes his mask off and he's just literally staring daggers.
Dude,
at
everybody.
It
was so funny.
All right, so what do you hope to accomplish? Because nobody's gonna look normal.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like that situation if like when you're coming through customs after you fly back, even though you know you're not guilty.
Yeah.
They're like, where have you been? What's your name? They're like, what were you there for? It's like you can't even answer simple questions because you think you're guilty of something. And I felt like that. Like when I took mine off, I'm like, I didn't get touched, but I feel like everyone's gonna be looking at me. And if I don't, like, what's normal? Is this normal? Is this normal? Is this you know what I mean? So you're trying to act normal. It's like walking out of the grocery store without paying for something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
Or not paying without buying anything.
Yeah.
You're walking out and you're like, just act cool. You didn't do anything wrong.
100%. Or like when you're taking groceries out and the alarm goes off and they're like, don't worry about it. You're fine. Like, what is this alarm for?
Just keep going. No, it's the people that look back are the ones that aren't guilty. The people that just keep walking, those are the guilty ones.
Oh yeah, that's a good call. Yeah. I know when I looked over at Ivor, and I thought for sure Ivor was a traitor because he wouldn't look up and look at everybody after we took the blindfolds off. But my plan was to befriend the traitor so I would be fine. So I liked Ivor anyways, but I became really close with him because I was like, I think he's a traitor because he wouldn't look up and like look at everybody else.
Ivor is the British royal guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I love how they always just got to throw in a random Brit.
Yeah, I know.
Ours was John. He was like he was fucking hilarious.
Great though.
The speaker of the house or whatever. He was so funny, dude.
Yeah, he had some great one-liners.
Yeah. Well, he taught us some skullduggery.
Yeah.
What was the other one? He taught us some really good ones. Tom immediately accuses Chrishell.
Yeah.
And then what was her response was the traitors are honest, so it can't be you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of wild. All right, the first mission you guys do, I thought that, God, there were so many elements to this one.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what I felt like. I felt like they took our season and they were like, all right, how can we make the missions, the shields, what you have to do throughout right out of the gate. Ours was very straightforward. You all work as a team. Yeah, 2 people or 3 people got shields, but it was basically whoever was the most selfish could go and get it. This one, and I didn't realize this until you guys skipped the final pontoon to get the money, where it's like by not doing that, you've now taken the pool of people that could be up for murder and you've reduced it by 20%.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, volunteering to get off who volunteers when. Then, if you're not one of the ones in the pool for murder, it's like now somebody that potentially wouldn't have gotten murdered now is up for murder just because. So did that create it must have just a whole bunch. Everything they did was meant to create controversy on that challenge.
Yeah, they did a really good job of so many different things. I mean, for personally, my whole plan going into the show was to stay under the radar, shut the hell up, and be the nice guy. And I immediately fucked that up because we get down there for this dragon boat race
and yelling at people.
No, they're like, all right, so you have to have someone to steer it. So I was the person. So you have to have someone to steer it, and you have to someone to yell row, right? And so everyone thought that steering was the most important. So they were like, all right, so who's the biggest leader? Who's the most outspoken? Wells. And I was like, oh, dude, really? I thought I was trying to be undercover, and all of a sudden I'm the most outspoken, and I having to steer this thing. And they had Sierra be the one yelling row. It was interesting because I was the one steering, I was also the one in charge the walkie-talkie for Alan to be this is how much time we have left. So I was having to impart all the information about what we do when we get there, and then how much time we have to come back.
Gave you a great argument for why you shouldn't have to get off, though. You could be like, listen, guys, I've got the most important job here. I can't get off because you guys don't know how to do this job.
So we get to the first one. Immediately, Dorinda gets off, right? And I thought that was sus because you were like, okay, if you don't care about being saved, then and everyone kind of clocked that. I think that they just didn't think it through. And then,
but then on the flip side, because this is what I thought when I was going, I was like, the traitors on ours, it would be smart for the traitors to go and grab a shield. A, it takes a shield away from somebody, and B, it's why would a traitor be worried about getting a shield?
Yeah.
So you can almost think of it both ways. Yes, the traitors will get off because they're not afraid of being murdered, but the traitors might also stay on so that they can get a shield because it'd be like, oh, well, if you're a traitor, why wouldn't you have gotten off?
Absolutely. That's what like Bob the drag queen. He gets off, and that's he was good about his reasoning for it. So what happened is that Ivor kind of got into this whole kind of toxic masculinity argument of we need the strong men in the boat.
That would have looked really bad if it's all the women are up for murder and all the guys aren't. That would have been a bad look.
Yeah, and then also Nikki is stronger than I am, so I'm I don't know what you're talking about. So Bob the drag queen's this is unacceptable. Guys need to get off too, and he kind of does this this morality speech, and it was a good distraction because in the end he was like, fuck this, I don't need this.
I believed it. That's the thing. He's I was gonna say drag queen. He's a traitor, but his reasoning for doing it.
Yeah.
And even so, I think it was, was it Nikki that was finally, someone's standing up for us. It was great.
All the Bambis loved him. Yeah. They were I remember Gabby being he's an ally. I know it.
Yeah.
And so, it was an interesting thing. So there were so many different factors, especially for me to take into consideration. Once it became this thing of only the girls are getting off and it's messed up, I did offer. I was like, listen, I don't want to get off. But I'm just steering right now. If anyone thinks that they can do a better job than me, then fine. But I feel bad for the girls. And so everyone was like, shut up. You're doing a great job. We'll figure out this down here. Stop talking. And I'm like, okay, never mind.
Yep.
So I at least put it out there that I wasn't a complete piece of garbage, but I didn't want to get off. Then we get to kind of the end, and no one really wants to get off anymore, right? Now we're starting to argue about it. And what you couldn't really tell is that when we were going to the pontoons, we were into wind, and it was taking forever. I think to get to the first pontoon, I think it took us 11 minutes. By the time we get to the third one, we've got one left, right? And there's more money over there, but then someone's got to get off. No one wants to get off. And I get radioed that we've got 22 minutes left. And I'm thinking in my mind, well, it took us 11 minutes to get to the first one. We're now 3 down. We have to go to the fourth and then come back.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't get back in time, then we get no money and no one is immune, right? So I was like, I don't know if it makes a whole lot of sense for us to gamble on this last one.
Mm-hmm.
if we want to like salvage some money.
Yeah.
And everyone kind of was like, yeah, that makes the most sense. And we
Hell
should,
yeah, because no one else wanted to get off.
Yeah, exactly.
Was there ever, because this is what I was thinking, was there ever, once you found out, especially after the second one, it's like, okay, we're definitely dumping 2 people every time. Was there ever something where it's like, all right, the next one, like, we're just going to have to find a way to just pick at random?
No, we probably should have done that, but I guess.
Probably no one would have agreed to do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it also was, people were getting tired. And I think in my mind, I was like, people are going to be like, my arms are shot. Like, I'm going to get off now.
Yeah.
But so anyways, we come back, we make it back in time. Also, someone almost dies because
I saw that snapped on the dock.
Okay, so they kind of like, glazed over that. But in real life, that if someone had been because the oar went back and it hit like a post and it broke.
It snapped.
And if someone had been there, it would have cut them in half for sure.
Oh,
I remember being like, that could have been so bad.
Yeah, because that's a big ass boat.
Oh, yeah.
You don't realize, I mean, it on TV, just watching you guys get that thing to move, like that is a big ass fucking Viking ship.
Oh,
dude.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was wild. So we get back and we light the thing on fire or whatnot. And then Alan kind of comes for me. They kind of cut it, but he comes and he's like, you guys stranded them out there and you didn't even get all the money. You had plenty of time. And I was like, no, we didn't.
Yeah.
And he's like, yes, you did. And I was like, no, we didn't. It took us 11 minutes to get the first one.
You think Alan's not sitting there stirring the pot?
No,
He knows. Dude, yeah.
But I fought the good fight. I was like, no. And so that's why you hear me say, like, I feel like I just got scolded by my mom.
Yeah. Again, this is where I think production is very smart in what they do. And this is how they create this division without looking like they're doing it on purpose, right? You guys go back to the house then. You get the shower.
Yeah.
Get dressed. Eat dinner.
Yeah.
And then this is what I noticed. Then when they roll in their black jumpsuits, they've been sitting out there freezing their asses off. They're already going to be pissed off. There's not even enough food for them.
Yeah.
That right there, I'm telling you, dude, that is done by design.
Oh, 100%.
You're telling me they don't have a catering tent in the back? They couldn't have put more chicken in there? No, they want them to come back and be hungry, tired, pissed off. You guys didn't wait for us to eat. You ate all the food.
Oh, yeah.
You left us out there. You didn't sacrifice 2 more people. We didn't get the money. Like, dude, I was watching that and I'm like, damn, dude.
Yeah, I probably was doing a disservice to myself in terms of like productions, like little games, but I was like, Dorinda came in hot, so angry, and she's like, you couldn't even wait for us. And I was like, Dorinda, we came back. They told us to put our clothes on. They told us to eat. What do you want us to do? I was like, get crafty in here, and let's get you a hot plate. And I was like yelling at producers. I was like, hey, can we get her a hot plate? What are we doing here?
Yeah.
And, not saying anything. And I'm like, you fucking motherfuckers.
Yeah.
You are doing this just to piss her off.
Yes.
But yeah, you telling me that catering doesn't have another
some more
chicken
skewers?
cordon bleu for her?
Really? You guys only made it. Yeah, you know how many people are here. You only made this many portions?
Yeah.
100% done by design. Dude.
Yeah. And so so that was a catalyst of a lot of people thinking that she was a traitor because she came in so hot and so angry. She was angry at Ivor about the toxic masculinity, but that didn't make a whole lot of sense because she was the first one off. It was kind of before Ivor started doing that, but she went off on him because, someone, I think Bob the drag queen or someone told her that was what was happening probably on the ride back. And then she goes in on everyone for eating without us and getting change and everything. And kind of everyone was like, this is a little too much.
With her.
Yeah, like over the top. Like, I feel like you're overacting. And that's why everyone was like, she was the first off. She's like doing way too much right now. Definitely a traitor. And that's kind of how we all left the night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you had to. In a way, it's almost like we're going to have to make a decision soon.
Yeah.
But probably not think, because I agree though. I think that if the heat was already on her, okay, like you said, then let the traitors or let the traitors should have just let you guys banish her. They should have just murdered somebody else, knowing that she was going to go anyways.
Yeah, they should have murdered probably. I can't remember who had immunity and who didn't, but like they probably should have either done another housewife to be like, because then everyone would have been like, another housewife would kill a housewife because we would never expect it, Or
that was my thought, dude. When Larsa and Marcus did it on our season, I was like, the smartest thing would be for one of them to murder their significant other.
For sure.
They're going to walk to the final. Yeah. Because no one would have been like, you murdered your girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wild.
For 100%. So that next morning, it just didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It's frustrating because I guess maybe I was the most vocal about it, but a lot of people were like, what? Like we're going to do this tonight.
Why do you think, and this is, and again, it's hard to say like with your game, because it did seem like you kind of were like, kind of in the, staying quiet, not making any waves, not, really riling anybody up. And I don't know why Robin got so like upset when you were like, that was a dumb move.
Yeah.
Because it made, like, logically, it made sense what you were saying. What she was saying didn't make sense.
So when
I felt like her argument didn't make sense, and it was almost as if it was like she was trying to say that your argument by saying it was a dumb move somehow makes you a traitor, when it's like, no, this is it. Like, I can explain to you why it was a stupid move.
Yeah. And also, like, it's a dumb move on your part, because are you being offended as a traitor that I'm saying that your move was stupid?
Yes.
And I remember thinking, like, surely you're not that dumb.
Yeah.
Like, that you would be visibly upset by what I'm saying. But we were in the billiards room, and we're all talking about it. And it's like 7 of us, and I'm saying, I thought it was dumb, and everyone's agreeing. Everyone's like, yeah, I mean, we were going to banish her. Like,
okay, so they were saying that when you made that argument?
Yeah, I was in that. So that's where we were. And then Sam and Robin come in, and they're like, what are y'all talking about? And someone's like, we're talking about like Dorinda and like the murder. And she's like, yeah, what do you guys think? And then I say, I think it was dumb. I thought we were going to banish her. And then she gets really defensive.
And then no one stepped up and had your
No
back.
one said anything. And I was
hate
like,
that.
I know. And I was like, whoa.
How did I just be, you're like, oh God, did I just say too much?
That's why I was like, oh no, I have pissed off somebody. And she's right. She was like, you got really weird and you left. And I did. I was like, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I'm like, surely she's not that dumb to be a traitor and be offended by me making fun of the thought process of that. But that's how I felt, both her and Sam doing that. But I immediately, so this is what happened. So I think she's a traitor. I think that she is upset that I've said that. And I think that they're going to try to murder me tonight. That's where I was. I was like, she's going to tell the traitors, we got to get rid of Wells. He's on to how dumb we are or whatever. So we go into this mission, and I'm thinking, I need immunity real bad. And I had this whole plan to catch a traitor, but I didn't really get there.
Yeah.
So we get to the
cages.
So we go out to the forest, and
you got Rob, Wes, and Derek hanging from cages. You'd already seen Rob. Do you know who Derek was? I didn't know who Derek was.
I had no idea who Derek was.
I thought Derek was Buzz from Home Alone for a second. I'm like, Buzz?
Yeah. He's got the ugly girlfriend, right?
I kind of felt, I kind of felt bad for Wes, because Rob's just getting coins just dumped in his container. Then Derek and Wes just sitting up there, dude. It was like, Wes, is this like a flashback back to elementary school when you were like pick last in dodgeball? Yeah.
So I go up to all of them, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with you guys, but I'm a big fan of Wes. Wes, I'm getting you down.
It was almost smart, because I almost feel like the first person to put the coin in in someone's box, like if Rob already had 50 coins in his box, I'm gonna go for someone who doesn't, and I'll be like, yo, like you're gonna remember this, 'cause I'm the first one that's taking this, that's breaking, with breaking tradition with what everybody else is doing, and I'm actually sticking my neck out for you.
Well, and no one else was trying to get him down except for me, and like they didn't show it, but I stand by this. I would say 90% of the coins in Wes's box was because of me. And then I was able to get Ian to help me out to get Wes down, because I had this whole plan. So I would say I single-handedly get him down. And I'm, there's like all these different like ways to get the coins, but the one that had the most, but it was the worst, is you had to run up a hill, and then you had to throw rocks at these bags and get them to drop, and then you had to run back down the hill. And so it was myself and Dylan who were just running wind sprints up and down. And I get Wes down, and I even say, I was like, Wes, I think I'm in trouble. I need that shield or whatever. And I get him down. We get him down like the last second. And
I wonder what would have happened if would he just have been kicked? Like, what
yeah,
happens?
I don't know. There might have been another way to get him in the game
Yeah.
later, right? But so then afterwards, and I'm like doubled over, like my cardio is really good,
You're
but
doing
like
wind sprints
I
up
was,
a hill.
yeah, and I was like,
no,
dude,
no rest.
we had to wait a little bit to like continue filming because I was like, give me a second, guys. And so we get them all down, and I talk to Wes, and I'm like, we don't know each other, but I'm friends with Johnny. And he's like, I know exactly who you are. I was just on Worst Cooks. Like, I watched your entire season with you and Johnny. So I know who you are. And he was like, I'm giving you the shield.
Yeah.
And I was like, sweet, I have a plan. And he was like, I love that. And my plan was this, and they cut it out because it never came to fruition. But I pull Ian aside, and I was like, listen, I'm going to get Wes's shield. Let's say that you get it, right? Like, this is all of like what Pilot Pete did.
Yes.
But I was like, let's say that you get it. I'll back up that you got it. And I think Wes might agree. I'm not sure if these new guys are going to say who they gave it to, but I will back you up. So you'll be safe because they'll think you have a shield. And then I'll be safe because I actually have the shield. And when Robin tries to come for me tonight, I'll be fine. And she was like, okay, I like this plan. She was like, but Wells, and this is so funny because Ian seems like such
come for you thinking that she's a traitor.
I'm thinking that Robin's a traitor.
Yes, and that would
or I
protect you.
pissed off the traitors and they're going to try to kill me because I said that their plan was stupid, right? So that was my plan. And Rob, I mean, and Ian was actually, as much as she like seems like she doesn't really know what's going on, she was like, I can understand how you think that Robin's a traitor, but I think that Bob the Drag Queen's a traitor. And I was like, no way. And she was like, I think so, but I like this plan or whatever. And actually, Chriselle sees us, we're in the kitchen, and I'm like whispering this plan to her, and Chriselle got like a little suspicious. And then I don't think I have any heat on me in terms of the faithfuls thinking that I'm a traitor at all until about 10 minutes before we go to roundtable. Dylan comes up to me and he's like, hey, I'm hearing your name a lot. It might be time to start going around and politicking. And I was like, okay, that what? I don't know where this came from. Because I was running like crazy to get Wes down because I'm worried about getting murdered. Like, so
Who was that? Who do you think that was? You think that was started by Robin?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that Robin in the car, because Robin was on the pontoon too. Another reason why I thought Robin might be a traitor is because she got off. And I think she in the car with Bob the Drag King was driving back and was
anything to keep heat off him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think Bob heard, oh, Robin thinks that Wells, and she had all these things that she kind of presented as to why I might be a traitor. And so once that happened, obviously Bob came back and was probably trying to spread that fire. And so I get told by Dylan, and I think by like Chriselle and maybe Nikki, that people are going to say my name. So I go out to like try to politic and be like, guys, I don't know what you guys are talking about. And immediately production's like, stop, silence, we're going in. Which I get.
Well, because they wanted those conversations to happen at the table.
Absolutely.
They wanted you to do your politicking at the table. This is the thing. Okay, did you guys know how many, like, did they tell you the number of traitors there could possibly be? Did they say like up to this amount, or did you guys know?
I don't remember that. I remember, I think we thought there were 3.
Okay, because here's what I was wondering. So then you have Rob, Wes, and Derek who enter the game. And it's almost like, in a way, it's like you guys didn't know if one of them, or you probably assumed, did you guys assume that one of them could be a traitor?
Yeah.
You did.
I thought it was going to be Wes.
Because if you already thought that the traitors had been chosen, it's like, all right, so they almost, in a way, get to enter the game and like come in and have no heat on them, because in a lot of people's minds, they're thinking that the traitors are already chosen.
Yeah, I think that we thought that the traitors were chosen. I think that I thought that one of those guys would probably be enveloped into that. That made the most sense to me.
Yeah. All right. So you guys go into the round table. The 3 of them are obviously off the table. Like at what point did you know that it's like, oh shit, dude, like this isn't good?
Yeah, immediately. Well, I knew going in, I was like, fuck, I'm going to have to defend myself.
Did you have Did you have like a deflection or an argument like already like in your head of what you wanted to say or how you wanted to deflect or what? Because
Well,
that's where a lot of times, because a lot of people's, not a lot of people's, but people's minds can be
For sure.
swayed or made up, especially if you're able to then deflect onto somebody else. But I feel like it's in a way, especially early on, it's almost an unfair advantage sometimes with the housewives or the survivors or whatever who have a pre-existing group coming in. Because if you can get 4 votes to go one way or whatever, and you get a couple more people, then dude, once that momentum starts, people don't want to break that cycle.
Absolutely.
Your guys' was different though, because it wasn't all on one person. It was kind of sporadic at first.
Yeah, but it was honed in on me. I got Robin's votes up because of my argument, I would say. I even went, but to your point, like I went into like an interview beforehand being like, I don't really know who I'm going to vote for. This is kind of before I heard that my name was getting called. And I'm like, I'm probably just going to go with the crowd. Like whoever is piling on, I'm just going to get rid of them because it'll save my ass. Because I thought Dorinda was a traitor. So I mean, it's immediately Bob the drag queen starts holding court and is like, Wells.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Okay. And so the arguments were basically Robin saying that I said that I got weird because I said that it was a dumb move. And then when she like retorted back, I got weird. And I was like, yeah, because I still think it's a dumb move. Like I defended that. And so then I think this was my biggest downfall. Someone said, who got weird when you said it was a dumb move? And I said, well, obviously it was Robin.
Oh, and then you called out.
And then I said, and it was Sam.
Yeah.
And I think I turned Sam's vote to me because of that.
Yeah, because you lost one. It would have been a stalemate, right? It would have been 4-4-4.
Or he could have voted for Ivor or something, you know? So me doing that, I killed myself there, but that's the truth. That's who came in. But like, if I were ever to do this game again, that's such a good lesson to be like, just like mitigate your losses here.
Yeah. Or don't throw a vote, like throw the vote back on someone you already know is going to vote for you.
Yeah.
So if you're already going, if you know someone's coming for you, it's like you don't make, because that's what a lot of people do. They'll vote for you, even if they don't think you're a traitor. They're just going to vote for you because you called them or you said their name.
Yeah.
Do you think calling out Robin though when you did because of the connections that she had, by you calling her out, then her friends are automatically gonna take her side and kind of vote her way as well?
I don't know. I mean, like the housewives weren't like unified because like they're all from different places. Like she's from like Potomac. I don't know. How many housewife shows can we have?
There's a lot. There's a lot of housewives.
So like, I don't know if they were all in line. Like obviously Ian was a housewife and from Dubai, and she's like, absolutely, it's not Wells. Dolores is next to me. She voted for Robin. So yeah, like, and I was able to get a lot of people on to Robin. Dylan thought Robin was a traitor as well. And I make the point of like, you got off on the pontoon. Like that's traitor behavior. And she's like, I come from a place where, you know, if I see people need something, then I do it. I'm a mom. And I was like, well, that's convenient for this argument, but we're playing a game, you know, like, what are you talking about?
The mom defense.
Yeah. And then Tony came at me. They didn't show up, but he came at me being like, you're sus because you won't say anyone's name. And that was true. Because when he first got out of like the choosing or whatever, the reaping, whatever you call it, Tony was like, who do you think? And I go, I want to do it opposite. I want to go by who I'm pretty sure it would never be. Like, I know it's not Tom Sandoval. I know it's not Ian. I don't think it's Dylan. Like, I was just going through and I was like, once I know who I'm pretty sure it isn't, because if I was producing this show, I would never make them a traitors because they'd be terrible at it. Then I'm going to take my small group and that's when I'm going to start like pinpointing.
Yep.
And he was like, that's a really suspect move. You won't say anyone's name. And I was like, Tony, you're a cop.
Yeah.
Isn't the number one rule of cops is figuring out who has alibis so they couldn't have done the murder.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, how bad of a cop are you?
I actually thought the same thing.
Okay.
And no offense against him, because listen, man, I fully support, obviously, like, you know.
Yeah, back to blue.
Black to blue, men and women in uniform, love them. But I thought the same thing. I'm like, dude, you're a cop.
Yeah.
Isn't this what you do on a regular basis? You like find out who's lying and you
He's
can
homicide too.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, like interrogate people, like you know what people's tells are, you know what people's ticks are. You know how to not look suspect and guilty. And it's like I actually was kind of shocked when I found out that he was a cop. Now that I found he's a homicide detective, it's even more shocking.
I know. Yeah.
If I ever get caught, I want him to interrogate me.
Yeah. He got a little salty and defensive at me when I like went back at him, being like, how dumb are you? Whatever. But he got his comeuppance not too long afterwards. So yeah, all that goes down. Tom Sandoval goes on a 30-minute diatribe about Chrishell. No one's listening. No one cares. I'm sitting there being like, Tom, dude, stop talking. I'm about to get killed. Can you please like come to my defense, I guess? Or like, no one's going to vote for her. I wish I had said that out loud, been like, shut up. But I said on my breath, I'm like, this is such dumb shit.
Yeah. She'd be like, dude, my ass is on the line here, Tom. No one is listening to a word that you're saying.
Yeah.
You know?
No one cares about like how she looked when she pulled her thing off. And it was so on the nose because she was friends with Ariana. And so it was obviously very personal. And it was like, dude, come on, man. This is not what it is. So yeah, I knew I was in hot water, but then the votes start going.
Yeah.
And I have convinced a lot of people. Oh, the other thing that happened that really fucking pissed me off.
Let's get into it.
Yeah, that like really grinded my gears is that twofold. Robin said that after the choosing, I was much different than I was beforehand. And after having time to reflect on this, I don't disagree with her. So when choosing of the traitors, you're on camera the entire time effectively. There's no like downtime, hurry up and wait, be quiet. But then after that, there is a lot of like, okay, hold, don't speak or whatever, and like just talk about whatever, but you know, we're not filming right now. And so once that happened, I turned into the guy who's done like a zillion reality shows. And I think that you're kind of like this too. Like if the camera's not on, I'm chilling, dude.
Yeah.
I'm not wasting good jokes.
No. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Good jokes or just it takes its toll, man.
Yeah.
Being on and being conversational and being chatty. Yeah. That takes, it requires energy.
Yeah. And I noticed like the housewives, they never, like they're always doing that. And I'm like, that's gotta be exhausting. Like this is just you all the time.
Yeah.
Whereas like I come from I was a radio host. Like I'm not funny unless the mic's on, you know? So I think that she saw that and she was like, you're acting different. And I was like, well, I was acting different. I wasn't on a TV show those times. The
cameras are down.
Yeah. I'm not doing this.
It's like in porn, dude.
Yeah.
Like we're not having sex when the cameras aren't on.
Yeah, exactly.
So fuck.
And then the other thing that annoyed me was that Bob said that I had been standoffish, Bob the drag queen. And that really pissed me off because, you know, you go on Reddit or whatever and you kind of figure out who's going to be there beforehand. And my wife was like, I think that Bob the drag queen's going to be on and I've got a lot of stuff for you to talk to him about. And I was like, cool, give it to me. So she was like, well, he was on RuPaul's Drag Race. I was a judge on that show. I don't think that he was on when she was judging it, but like that's something to talk about. And I was like, cool. And then she goes, and actually I went to high school with Bob's co-host for his podcast, Monet Exchange. And I was like, oh, really? That's interesting. And she's like, yeah, you've met them in New York or whatever. And I'm like, cool. And then at the time, Sarah was taking over the Audrey role in Little Shop of Horrors on Broadway from Jinx Monsoon, who was on RuPaul's Drag Race.
And you forgot all this stuff.
No, I talked to him about all this stuff multiple times. And every time I was like, man, he does not want to talk to me. Like he's like I'm trying with you, you know, I'm trying with everybody, but like I had like a bunch of ammo to like talk to him about.
Yeah.
And so he says that, he goes, you've been really standoffish, and they cut it. But I was like, that's not fucking true.
Yeah.
I've talked to you about this. I've talked to you about this, and I've talked to you about this, and you have not wanted to talk to me. So you saying that I'm being standoffish is BS. And I was so heated at the time, and I was just thinking it was Robin.
This is after the round table
Just
before
during. I talked to him about all those things.
I know, but I'm saying him telling you that, yeah, because he said you had a shift in demeanor and you're being slightly different.
Yeah.
He said that at the round table.
Yeah, and then I came back with, that's not true. I've tried to be your friend this entire time, and you've just been really standoffish.
Mhm.
And I remember afterwards, like after it was all said and done, I was like, oh, he was lying.
Yes.
And obviously he's a traitor because he was making that all up to make me look bad.
Yeah.
But that's what
as long as it's not on him.
Yeah, but that's what pissed me off because that was like going against my character, you know, where I was, and that's what's interesting about this game, and that's why I said it in the beginning of like, what's hard about this is that people can come for your character, and like for like me, that's kind of all I have.
Yeah, for me, my character's been assassinated so many times. I'm like, that's cool. What do you do? Staple some shit to it?
Yeah. So those are the two things that like really grinded my gears. But anyways, the vote starts happening, and I think that I've got the numbers.
I thought you did too.
Yeah.
Because it was weird as this guy, okay, as I'm watching it, I know I'm having you on, and I'm like, I know he was the first, well, I've heard he was the first banished, but then as it's going on, I'm like, wait a minute, did I hear wrong? Was I misinformed?
So so it comes down to Carolyn. And it's so funny because I think they cut it, but she was like, I don't really know who to vote for. And like, Wells, really? Like she says that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes. Like it's going to be, I thought it was going to be Ivor or Robin. And then she flips it over and I was like, oh, damn, got nailed.
Yeah.
And then looking back, like it kind of made me feel a little bit vindicated because finding out that she's a traitor meant that I think that Bob and her probably had a conversation of like, let's try to get Wells out.
She also, obviously, I feel like in a way, and obviously her and Phaedra are completely different when it comes to the game. But I feel like they are both in the same position where it's like they weren't the ones that were steering the ship. Dude.
Yeah.
Phaedra let Dan make all the decisions, and it almost seems like Carolyn, the first murder, and it seems like this banishment, and I think the second murder, she's like, guys, like this is not what I want to do, and she just gets outvoted outvoted. In a way, though, I think it's so much better, I think, in a way, when you're a traitor, to let the other fucking traitors make the decision. That way the blood it can't get traced back to you.
Yeah. I mean, I think that she agreed with me, being like, these are dumb moves. Killing, they end up killing Ian. She doesn't want to do that. She's like, that's dumb, you know?
Yeah.
And then you can see Boston Rob being like, Ian? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I think that, not to jump ahead, but like, I think that the second that Boston Rob realized that Bob the Drag Queen was kind of dictating the turret and making stupid calls, I think that was him being like, we got to get this guy out of here.
Yeah.
Because I need to be able to run this thing.
And we'll get into that, but I think Bob wasted way too much of his political capital getting rid of Bob, dude. I think, okay, yes, in the short term, this is what happened on our season when Dan managed to convince the house to get rid of Janelle.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, you convinced them, but at what cost?
Yeah.
Yeah, you convinced them this time around that it wasn't you, but I feel like by doing that and by putting that much attention, having that many conversations, dude, you just put a huge target on your back, and that's a really difficult thing to get rid of. The votes come down to you. I didn't have to do this because I got murdered, and that was the one thing. I actually was glad, as much as it sucked, I was actually glad that I got murdered because I was like, there's nothing I could have done.
Yeah.
I didn't get to play the game. I really didn't have a way to like make a case for myself why it shouldn't be me. But I mean, how much does that suck to have to know that, that your card got pulled and then, have to say what you had to say? Did you already know what you were going to say? Or did you kind of just
I kind of winged it. Like I did the slow clap thing.
Yeah.
I've just, grew up in the 90s. Like every good movie had a slow clap, and I thought that would be really funny. And there was also a part of me that was like, well, if I'm not going to be on this TV show much, so I might as well like do something good so it's fun in the end. And everyone thought that I was a traitor. Like, well, a lot of people did. So I start doing the slow clap, and everyone is like, like they get so excited. Everyone was like, we're going to be the first season to get a traitor out first. Like, we're going to do it. And I'm like, yeah, we are. That's a good idea. And then they get me out, and I'm like,
Yeah.
you fucking idiots, you know? And so, and then, so I thought I was like, I thought for sure like Robin was a traitor. And so me being like, playing a smart game isn't always the smartest. But there was also talking about myself. Like I was overthinking it, and I was not being the smartest.
Analysis leads to paralysis, man.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Everyone, okay, and this is the other thing that annoys the traders. They love like gassing up their own tires.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we did the perfect thing. It was Wells. It wasn't one of us. Okay, first of all, it is so difficult to figure out who the traders are. And that wasn't, I think it's more effective if the traders are able to deflect or to pin it all on one person.
Yeah.
That way, all the votes go one way. It's like, all right, we managed to convince the group that it was this one person. The votes were sprayed around.
Yeah.
Like so many people got votes that I'm like, okay, yeah, it wasn't you, but guys, like there was so many different people got accused. I didn't think that was like the greatest display of, the traders being successful. And again, Bob coming out as full-throated as he did, like he's doing too much.
For sure.
I almost feel like with the traders, I think him and Danielle are both doing way too much.
Yeah, Danielle, I even said it in an interview, I was like, this lady is crying all the time, but like, I think they're alligator tears.
Yes, dude.
She's way too, and I even said like, I'm married to an actress.
Yep.
I know good acting when I see it, and this isn't it.
There's a thing called overacting.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's the problem is it's like sometimes being a good actor is not doing anything.
Yeah.
It's like, how in real life do you operate when like things don't go to, you cry all the time? No, it's like, and that's the thing. She kept on pride. She kept on saying like, oh, I'm such a good actress. I've got everyone fooled. I'm such a good actress. And then literally the next day at breakfast, everyone's like, why the fuck is she so upset?
Yeah.
Why is she crying, dude? Yeah.
It was very odd.
The traders are obviously going to episode 3, traders are obviously like totally hell-bent on continuing to eliminate the housewives. Ion gets murdered, which is, unfortunate.
Also dumb.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't, if you're a traitor, what you should be trying to do is murder people that make other people look suspicious.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
No one thought Ian was a traitor.
Yeah.
So there was no reason for anyone to want to kill Ian.
The only thing is to create confusion. That's what like.
For sure. But yes, I agree with that. But also if that's all you're trying to do, that means you don't have a plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
you're trying to frame someone. You got to think ahead. You got to be like making this move. Who is this going to put in the crosshairs?
Yeah. Like who would want to kill Ian? Not a single person. I could have made so many arguments for a million other people. You kill Robin. Well, that would have probably been Dylan because Dylan was agreeing with me. You kill Ivor. Well, that was probably any of the housewives because they were all upset at him for what he said in the Dragon Boat. All these different things we could have grabbed onto, but killing Ian, everyone's like, what? And the second you do that, that means that the house doesn't have any idea who to vote for. So that means the chances of traitor getting voted is higher, I think, right?
Yeah,
because it's just calamity. Well, it could be you. It could be you. I don't know.
Yeah. No, you're right. Also, I think, and this is the second season in a row that this has happened, we're getting rid of all the entertaining people,
I know.
like right off the rip. Like, and this happens when people don't do a lot of TV. They don't see the bigger picture and they're not looking at the show from like a more macro perspective where it's like, what's better for the show?
Yeah.
And that's how I felt. I mean, obviously I'm biased because it's me, but like when I got murdered, I'm like, Dan, you could have murdered me at any time.
Yeah.
Like at least look at it like, all right, this guy's going to be good for the show. He's going to be good for, protecting me. But I think they don't necessarily factor that in either.
It's funny that you say that because when I got there, I'm talking to producers and, they're asking like, did you watch this last season? What did you think? All that kind of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but you guys made a huge mistake. You got rid of your biggest star immediately. And they're like, yeah, I know, but that's what's great about this game is that like, we're not really in control. It's all you guys. And I said, yeah, but if I was there, I would have made sure that Johnny Bananas was on for at least half the season.
No, you're in full control. You guys know exactly what you're doing. Okay.
Yeah. But here, and then again, it doesn't really matter because it's like the number one stream show right now on it. They now moving it to network.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
What do I know?
How awkward and again, like, did you made it to a breakfast, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And I think it's more awkward, but I never made it to one. But I feel like that's probably the most awkward part of the day of walking in the morning. Again, like, everyone's looking at who's walking in. You have to walk in and again act normal.
Yeah.
What's normal? What questions do I ask? How do I react to people coming in?
Yeah.
Because even if you're not a trader, or if you are a trader, people are looking at what everyone's reactions are or what they say. And this is, again, when I thought that both Bob and Danielle did way too much.
Yeah.
It's like you guys are sobbing like children that this girl that Ivor just got murdered.
Yeah.
It was too much. And I can tell people were already kind of like onto that too.
Yeah. I don't think I think especially in Bob's case, it was pretty obvious pretty quickly. But I think a lot of it stemmed from how he handled the round table with me. I think a lot of people were like, "Whoa,
yeah."
And then what he did was, if you watch it back, he accuses me, he piles on, and then he votes for someone else to keep his hands clean.
Yeah,
Yeah. And if I had been there, I'd been like, "I saw what you did there."
That's what Dylan called him out for. Dylan goes, "You throw a name out, and then and then after that seed's planted, you deflect somewhere else."
Yeah, it was like, if you're gonna say it with your chest, man. Like, I don't know. I think he was not long for the world, and I think that I honestly, and I haven't talked to Rob about it, but I imagine Rob was like, I just feel like he was making a lot of decisions, and they weren't great decisions for the Traitors.
Yeah, well, and I think that was, I mean, and then again going into this last episode where Bob gets banished, I think that was Bob's fatal mistake was basically saying, all right, well, it's got to be one of the three people in the cage.
So dumb. I don't know why you would do that. It's probably to him was like it's just throwaway line or whatnot. Mm-hmm. But why would you, if you're a trader and you're supposed to be protecting each other, why would you do that? And you've given one of your traders so much ammo because right off the bat he can go to the other two guys and be like, he thinks that we're traders, so we need to vote for him. Right there, you have 3 votes. So yeah, I'm sure it was a throwaway line, and most people would have been like, whatever.
Yeah,
but Bob needed a reason. Rob needed a reason, and he got one.
Served it to him on a silver platter. Yeah. The bookshelf, the short list triple murder bookshelf situation, bookcase, they couldn't have fucked that up any worse. The fact that they didn't get caught red-handed doing that, was it because they all 4 had to be in there at the same time? Because I'm like, yo, plant someone outside.
Absolutely.
Or 2 people outside. Come up to a decision, have 1 person going to write the names, or 2 people.
Yeah.
Plant 2 people at the bar with a safe word.
Yeah.
The fact that all 4 of them went in there, because then it's like, how do you get out? How do you know if someone's in there? Could you imagine that bookcase opening and all 4 of them walking out? You're fucked. Your whole game's cooked.
I know. Gabby almost gets him too.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking like, how I would have done this would have been like, because everyone's always like, hey, can I talk to you? And then you go, whatever. So you do that with each trader, right? Just in the billiards room, in the bar, right? He doesn't have to be in that room, right? Everyone like, hey, we're thinking this, and this. Okay, but I'm thinking this, and this. Okay, let's narrow it down to this, and this, and this. Have like 4 conversations. Then one person goes in, signs it. But I was just like, I just feel like they're not thinking this through at all.
Yeah, they weren't. The one thing that and this is what I was on the fence about too. And again, Rob was the first one to make this point. It's like, we got to put a trader as one of the names, and they were trying to convince Carolyn.
I think that was genius to not put a trader in there. Yes.
Because then everyone is going to assume that to deflect, they were putting a trader, and that is exactly what happened.
Yes.
Because then everyone assumed that after Jeremy got murdered, that it was one of the other 2 girls.
The other thing about Jeremy being chosen by Danielle that makes no sense is that every night up in the turret, I think Carolyn's like, Jeremy, Jeremy. And Danielle's like, no.
No. Yeah.
If we put him in, then everyone's going to suspect me, and it's a no-go for me. And you're like, okay, I understand that rationale. And then you have the opportunity to put 3 people in, and Jeremy's one of them, and that's who you kill.
Yeah.
But the last 3 nights you've been saying you can't do it.
And this is why I think when it comes to the Traitors, and this again happened last season, where like it should always be a decision that is mutually beneficial for all of them.
For sure.
If one traitor is being targeted by one person, and if I don't have an issue with this person, I'm not saying their name. Guess what? The reason this person's saying your name is because you're playing a fucking sloppy game.
Yeah.
You did that. Okay? You did something to put the heat on you. And like you just said, now you have all of them having to back a decision that only benefits one person.
Yeah.
Because murdering Jeremy only benefits her.
Yeah.
You know?
I know. That one, I was scratching my head being like, you've been saying this entire time and now you kill him. It's ended up working though. And I think that once Boston Rob was able to start like throwing his weight around with decisions, it was the best decision they could have ever made, not throwing in a traitor.
Yeah.
I think that was so freaking smart.
Because at first that's what I thought. I'm like, duh, put a traitor in the box.
Absolutely.
Then once he said it, it's like, oh yeah, that actually makes a lot more sense because they're going to assume one of those people is a traitor. Then the heat's going to be on the other two.
Yeah.
So yeah, Danielle gets obviously heard coming out of the shelf. The only thing that saved her, I feel like, was the fact that Dylan then went in. She went in with him, and then she was able to be like, yeah, I was in there, but Dylan was in there with me.
Yeah.
So that kind of, even though Bambi was onto something, it was like it made it null and void.
I know.
All right. So then after the challenge on episode 4, again, Bob makes an absolutely fatal error by saying something he didn't need to say, which was, okay, I think one of the 3 guys that were in the cages, Derek, Wes, or Rob have to be a traitor. And that was when Rob got activated.
Yeah.
That was all it took to to get him started. Now, I understand his reaction to this, but I almost feel like it was an overreaction.
I agree.
I feel like right away, it's like, yes, yes, he put your name out there, but people might not have even really thought anything of it. But then when you go, now you're expending all of your energy and all of your political capital just targeting one person and getting the entire house to do it, you're really putting yourself out there.
For sure. And I feel like it was a little early to do that.
Yeah.
But I think Boston Rob, I think it was premature. Like he probably should have done it a couple episodes later, I guess. But I think the reason, I think he wanted to get rid of Bob the drag queen, and I think he was looking for something to use as a catalyst.
Because Bob was one that was controlling all the decisions.
Yes.
Basically.
And so I think once that happened, then he was like, okay, this might be my only opportunity to use this thing against him to get the votes, and I got to do it now. But I agree with you. I think that he exhausted so much of his political capital on a move that Dylan was trying to
have
work
go anyways. Yeah. That's all he really had to do. I mean, even if you don't get him this time, the votes are out there. Like, it's only a matter of time before it happens. And I've noticed this. It's the hardest thing to do sometimes on a competition show is put the betterment of your game behind what you feel is best for you personally and your There's been times on the show where I cannot fucking stand somebody.
Yeah.
Cannot stand them. Don't want to be around them. Hate them. But I'm like, does this person actually affect my game though?
Yeah.
And sometimes you need to just put your own personal agenda aside for like the betterment of the game. And I feel like, again, yes, for the short term, like this for Boston Rob, it was like this guy, is dictating some, the votes, and this guy is obviously, had kind of thrown it out there that's potentially putting a little bit of heat on me. But I don't think at this point anyone was even really coming for Rob. But now, after the amount of energy that he did running around the house to whip up votes, and then coming out as hard as he did at that round table, yes, dude, you won the battle, but I think you've literally just set yourself up for losing the war.
And like hindsight's 20/20, but like big picture wise, if he hadn't have done what he did, then it would have been Nikki that would have gotten knocked out. And getting Nikki out would have been advantageous for the Traitors because it breaks up the Bambis, right? Mm-hmm. So now they're on an island. They can't vote because they were all voting together, and it would have given them more power. Then, to your point, like losing the battle, all of a sudden Wes gets activated to be like, okay, right there. How do you 100% know someone's a traitor? Well, you're a fucking traitor too.
Mm-hmm.
And now, I think one of the last people you want thinking you're a traitor is probably Wes, because he is a really, really smart guy and also super eloquent when he's talking to people.
Yeah. For what Wes lacks in, logic and rationality, he makes up for in his eloquency.
Yeah.
Because he could talk to you and you're just like, okay, this doesn't make any sense, but the way you said it, I think it should make sense.
Yeah. Totally.
I think and they made a good point about this, when somebody is kind of backed in a corner when they're guilty is when they start using profanity and when they start swearing to God.
Yeah.
The second Bob goes into like, I swear to God mode.
Yeah.
Okay, if that's the only argument you have, like, oh, I put this on my grandparents.
Yeah.
It's like, once you start doing that, dude, that's, you've already lost.
I thought about like what I would have used if like it really came down to it. And I was thinking like I would say something if I wasn't a traitor and I was a faithful, something to the effect of, if I'm a faithful and I win all the money, I will give it to you. I'll give you all the money if you're right. Like that's the only way that I can think of convincing someone, because the God thing or swearing on your family that could be bullshit.
Yes.
But the second you say something that's a verbal contract, that's money's involved, people might be like,
yeah,
well, maybe.
Yeah. No, you're right. Hindsight's always 20/20.
Yeah.
So he obviously gets voted out, and then going back to what you said, Wes's indelible words, because everyone is literally treating Rob like he's this hero and hanging on every one of his words. And after, when Wes is talking to Tom, Chriselle, and Ivor, he asks, and it's actually going back to what you said, pretty brilliant. How do you really know 100% when someone's a traitor? And Tom knows really, he's like, if you're a traitor.
Yeah. I was proud of Tom because like no one got that answer.
Yeah.
And then Tom says it. And he's like,
that's and again, going back to my season, that's exactly what ended up burying Dan, was how full-throated he came out against Phaedra.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But here's the problem is then Phaedra was literally had to use everything in her power to get Dan banished. But then guess what? Once it's discovered, and this happened with Bob and Rob, once then you realize, oh, we just banished the traitor. This traitor was so certain that the other person was a traitor, they're the only ones that could know.
Yeah.
So that's why sometimes it's almost like as much, and that's what I'm saying, going back to what I was saying before about Rob, kind of really, this was a big miscalculation, because it's like, yes, you got rid of the intended target, but damn, dude, you wounded yourself. You wounded yourself, moving forward.
For sure.
Whew. Anyways, man. All right. Well, gone too soon.
Yeah.
I can relate.
Only the good die young, man.
Only the good die young. You know what? Live fast, die young, leave a good looking corpse.
That's right.
But listen, man, I think there's a very good chance. I think they realize that there were some people that they may need to bring back in the future just to give them a second shot.
Well, I hope you're one of them. I think I'm done with doing these shows. But
really?
Yeah, I'm better at like hosting them than I am about.
Wells is like, listen, man, I should have stayed out on top when I beat you at Worst Cooks.
Exactly. I was so proud of myself. I still use that today. It's like my Twitter bio. Beating Johnny Bananas at a competition show.
Yes, I am the second best worst cook in America. All right, dude. For those out there that don't already follow you, want to keep up with your shenanigans, your podcast, where can they find you?
Yeah, at Wells Adams on social media, and I do a podcast called Your Favorite Thing Podcast with Brandy Cyrus. I've been doing that for like 10 years, and yeah, I'm hosting Red Carpet for the Grammys this year. So
no way.
I'll be doing that.
All right.
That'll be fun. And then my wife is doing The Great Gatsby on Broadway. So if you're in New York, go see that show.
Would love to.
Yeah.
Do you know someone that can get me tickets?
Yeah, I think we can figure that out.
All right, man. My first Broadway show ever.
Oh,
I've never been.
We're gonna make you
never been
a sophisticated boy.
Yes. Do I have to wear underwear?
No.
Okay, perfect.
You have to wear pants though.
Oh fuck. All right. This is the first time on a podcast I've wore pants in a while, because usually it's just waist up. All right, dude. Well, listen, Wells, thank you for stopping by the Death, Taxes, and Bananas podcast, where the tea flows like wine and my guests instinctively flock like the salmon of Capistrano. I'm Oprah, and I love you.